All right. Hey, everybody. It's the 26th of September, 2024. It's Thursday. That means it's time for Gimbalabs Open Spaces. We get together on Thursdays at 14:30 UTC to make plans for what we're going to do next. And we've been doing this for several months. We've been practicing and really making measurable progress. I hope everybody who's been here for any number of weeks can feel it. We're getting pretty good at this proposal process. It's pretty awesome. And we're starting to have some projects that are real and in progress. And so we had the suggestion last week from Alex that we start thinking about our project backlog. And so for the first time today, we're going to just do a quick review of that, see how that goes. I just realized that I didn't check in. All I have to say is that today I woke up for the first time, the parent of a teenager. My son turned 13 yesterday. So I'm feeling all sorts of big feelings right now, but I'm loving it. We had a good celebration of my guy, and yeah, new era around here. Let's take a look at the Gimbalabs Notion. And just to situate us to what we're doing, can you guys see my Notion?
Yep, I got it.
Good. Just to place us in context, we've been starting these Thursday meetings with this view of our projects in Notion. And I'm going to collapse everything for just a moment. Projects can be at many different stages. They can be in the proposal phase, where people are putting together their ideas about what they might want to do. They can be in the planning phase, and this one's a little unique. This is the stuff that is happening for one reason or another, independent of the proposal phase. So for example, right here, you can see Aiken PBL, we're planning it because we had a catalyst proposal to build it. And actually, Hints and I have been working on that, so I can put that in progress over here and share updates. We have a backlog of things we might need to address at some point, and we don't have a formal distinction yet between the backlog and the proposal stage. So that's a place where we can be creative together, figuring out if that needs to be distinguished somehow. But for now, we have this placeholder, right? Things we might do at some point. Where we've been spending the most of our time at these Thursday meetings is right here on community review and consent. This is where proposals go after they're drafted by owners to the point where you as the author say, yeah, I'm ready to share this with the rest of the team and get consent to move forward with it. We can move any proposal to the community review stage. And then this is what we've been spending a lot of our time talking about. Okay. And we will probably have time to get back to this today. I'm eager to get into this brand new proposal from Emmanuel and the team. And then we've got a couple others that are still in progress. But what we thought about last week is to start today with a review of what we already have in progress. For a full-time team, this is a common exercise, right? If all 11 of us right here were working full-time at Gimbalabs, we might do this every day, reviewing this project list before we decide what to do. Obviously, none of us are full-time here. And so we're going to figure out what's the best we can do for a project review that makes us all feel confident that we know what has to be done and what's been done, what has to be done, what we should do next. So that's really where we're going to start to focus. Any questions about the high level, or did I miss anything in just this overview?
Sorry, not a question, but would you mind just sharing the link for that again, please? I can't seem to
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
find where I've stored it. Thanks.
I'm dropping in the link, the public. So Notion, for anybody who's not aware, Notion
Thanks.
allows you to publish anything. And what we've done with the Gimbalabs Notion is I think we've published pretty much the whole Notion site. That doesn't give public edit access to any of these documents, but it does allow anyone to come audit our work at any time, right? If you need edit access, just let me know. And actually, let's start there because that's the first project I see in this list. When we started using this process, I brought a proposal to the team that said, hey, let's pay for Notion Plus accounts for anybody who's contributing at Gimbalabs. We went through the process, we consented to this proposal, and the resources required were 96 USD per year per account. We said that we're going to review this sometime like maybe mid 2025, Q1, Q2 2025. We can review this and we can see if this is money well spent, right? We could see if there are orphaned accounts that we're paying for, but nobody's using them. And we'll be able to refine a policy from there. But our initial approach is that if somebody brings a proposal to the team, we're going to pay 96 USD to give them a year of Notion access. And that's what we've been doing so far. I was just reimbursed from the Gimbalabs treasury. I need to grab that transaction hash for everybody so you can review it. But I was just reimbursed for what we've done so far. In my mind, maybe this is done because the system is up and running and it's working, and we know that we're going to review it eventually. But does anybody have any questions about this proposal right here? Or this, I guess, this in progress project? Yeah, Alex.
Maybe it would be sort of more appropriate to leave it in progress, just fill the dates, because you just said the date of for review is pretty solid, and so we could like, and it would be, and there won't be any then. I mean, it makes sense to have it here.
Yeah. So that, how would you feel about me slapping a date of like April 1st, 2025?
It's
Right,
a
like,
funny day.
oh, Fool's Day. Okay, I'll March 31st.
Yeah, all right. Maybe Thursday.
A Thursday near, yeah, let's make it a Thursday. Let's make it like Thursday, March 27th.
Awesome. Yeah.
Now, what this makes me think of is what we're going to do now is not only review these projects, but we have a chance to look at this data and see if it's sufficient. And what this makes me think is maybe separate from a dates column that like references when the actual work is going to be done, this is more of a review date. How would people feel about me adding a review date column to this table, which would give us a way to look ahead to when we are going to review these projects?
And
I
what
think that's
does,
a great idea.
and what does
Me
then
too.
the date represent? Just
This
simple date.
represents like when the work is happening, like when is the work itself due, right?
Okay.
And for this Notion project, that question doesn't really make sense. It's just ongoing, right? Anytime somebody writes a proposal, I get their email address, I give them a Notion account, I get reimbursed. It's kind of a running system. So for me, there's no need to put a date on the work. It's just part of my workflow. But I absolutely think as a team, we should review this system at some point in the future.
So I just posted in the chat, maybe be more specific about the dates column, maybe something like operational dates or something like that. And then we could have a review date and a submission date.
Excellent.
I love dates. Me and date. I love the calendar. It's true. It's just, it's
Yeah.
like, it's the temporal. It sort of brings us into a time.
Let's try it. Operational dates. You can see on my screen right now that there's very low cost to changing these titles. It takes about 15 seconds. Done.
Nice.
All right, we can always change that. And let me add a property.
Look at this.
New property called review date. Oh, wait, first I have to choose a date. And let's call it review date.
Yeah.
Nice. And for now, we just created that. Whoops, I just made a new project. Let's put review date next to operational dates. Let's clear this one, but put it here. And actually, March 27th as review date is pretty cool because it's the last Thursday in that month. And so
Awesome.
one possibility, right? It happens to be that today is the last Thursday in September, but why not wonder if this is a nice precedent? What if our last Thursday of every month we did this kind of project review? So that's that one. Dandelion Intersect grant, my name's on that one as well. That was actually done, polished off. I submitted the final report to Intersect, so we're good there. We have a prototype holding the funds for that grant, which as Andamio moves along, we're really gonna kind of retire that prototype as we start integrating all of these features into the Andamio platform. And so for now, this prototype, Roberto is just going to get the part of that grant for running the servers, and the rest of these funds we're just going to be able to roll into the overall Gimbalabs treasury. Okay, so this one, there's really no action necessary left on this one. We'll close that one out. Plutus PBL, absolutely a work in progress. So this is the first really interesting one where it comes to dates. As you can see, operational dates ended a month ago. And the Plutus PBL course still needs some work. There are a couple of modules, 204 and 205, that still need to be drafted for the first time. In the whirlwind of the last few months, we had some project tasks to get those done, and they just didn't get done. Maybe more importantly than those, there's some urgent revisions to make to the course. And so for this one, certainly I think it's not helpful to have dates that are in the past for an in-progress project. And so what I'm really hoping to do is make sure that we get some helpful dates on all of these projects by the end of this session. But for this one, let's just say that we are currently working on it. And I'd like to review this one as well a month from now. There's some action I'd really like to take on this, but the details of those actions are beyond the scope of this whole group meeting. So I'm going to tag this one as having actions on it over the next month. We'll review it at the end of October. But as the owner of this one, my intention is to share some updates before that. Who has questions about this current proposal?
Yeah, so yeah, just to like those revisions, and is this a spot like in the Notion to put down, it's like because there was a big change, or the big change that I've seen in this was that the node upgrade and the sort of breaking of some of the content. Like where should we document that, and does that go in here, or those types of things?
That's such a good question. Okay, so especially if you haven't seen this yet, everybody should know that once you do have a project in progress or even a proposal, right? Any one of these can be opened. And what we're all familiar with already is the proposal part, which is great. This is the part we've spent the most of our time on. Once a proposal is consented to and is now in progress, this page right here serves as the project management dashboard for getting it done. And so you can see down here, there's a task list, and you can look at it as a list or as a Kanban board, whatever you prefer. We have finished a lot of lessons in their initial drafts. We have some still to go. And this is a little out of date. That actually one of my responsibilities as owner is to go through and say, like, wait a minute, lesson 103, that one was done. I can move that to done. And I'm a little behind on that. So one of my responsibilities immediately following this meeting is to clean this up. But then we get to Newman's question. What about when there's new scope? Because clearly we're all aware there's some lessons that just need to be updated for the Conway era. Wonderful. It's easy to add new tasks here. I could say fix lesson 101.2 for Conway. I'm not sure what that lesson's about, but right, that's easy to add that task. We could even assign that to each other. I could say, yeah, I'll take that one. All right, maybe Newman's ready to take that one. Right? We could put a due date, not just on the whole project, but on a given task. This is wonderful, right? It's all right here, full-fledged organizational project management. And when we're ready, there's other ways to look at aggregate tasks that are pulled from all projects, but into like a sprint board, for example, right? So we could say, all right, these are the projects we've been doing. Over the next 2 weeks, these are the tasks we're going to do. So you're able to remix and repurpose all of these task cards. But no matter how trivial that might be, I'm going to delete this for now. You saw how easy it is to add new tasks. The other question becomes, well, are we really in a new phase of the work? And maybe is it time to close out this project where we allocated 13,500 ADA and move on to actually a new proposal for the next phase of PPBL 2024, where we make all of these revisions? And I don't know the answer to that. I just want to bring that to the group. We have to start to learn, like, at what point do we say, okay, that project, that part of a project is done, and now it's time for a new proposal because we need a new pool of funding to get it done. What do you think?
No?
So far, so good. Well,
So far, so
jump in with
good.
comments,
I
right?
mean,
Like, these are, we're planting seeds for things that we're gonna talk about and do together when we're ready. Okay. But that gets me thinking, might it be helpful? And I promise I don't have too many more of these ideas. One of them was review date, but it might be helpful in this view to have some kind of budget column so we can see at a high level, hey, how much ADA was delegated to this project? Would anybody have objections to me adding a budget column to this chart?
you know, I no objection here. And I love that. I would love to hear from others if they. I see a heart on the chat.
And
From
once again,
Q.
remember how cheap it is, right? I'm going to add a new property right now. It's going to take me 10 seconds and we could delete it just as quickly, right?
I see
So
Alex has his hand up. Alex, what you got? Well, James is doing. Hey,
Oh,
Alex. Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
misclick.
Okay, no worries.
And what I'm
Yeah.
actually going to propose is adding 2 columns, one for budget allocated and another for budget spent.
That's perfect.
Right.
Okay, Alex is dropping off. See you, Alex.
Alex, see you soon.
So just like with the date and the time, budget is also, I mean, not to be the bean counter, but like it's just one of those common measures. It's just what your time and money, right? I mean, so yeah, the more we can. Quasar's got something. I'm gonna read it off for you, Quay.
Yes.
Q. Possible drawback post budget. It gets outsourced to ADA bounties for less. Pros and cons. Posting the budget. I don't know. I can't.
I guess it's
if I
when
can-
like project you get like, okay, we have 500 ADA, we have 5 lessons, and now you try to do, okay, let's try with bounties, like let's put up like 50 ADA and see if anybody's doing it, and then it ends up like, all right, it's completed. Like it happened in T-Work where I allocated $2,000 and we got it done in like $300. Like, okay, what? Then we just started new iterations and new lessons. On the budget side, well, if that helps, then we also had added always the budget allocated because people never objected when it is there, but always somebody asked if it wasn't there. And then budget spent, we had as a status, like if it's done, then it goes to the status where it said, okay, time to spend the budget. But yeah, it doesn't matter here, I guess.
Well, remember that all of these allocations are going to flow through the treasury. And I want to review that system with everybody by the end of today as well. If not, to look at the details, we might pin that one for next week to get to the consent. But look at how this is going to work. We can say, okay, 13,500 ADA was the approved amount, the allocated amount in this proposal. To get this number, I'm actually going to review the transaction history on mainnet from our treasury. And I'm going to look for all the projects that have, all of those tasks that different people committed to building PPBL 2024. And that'll give us a precise record of what we've spent on this project. By looking at that, yeah, I think one of the eventual outcomes is we're going to be able to say, oh, we budgeted too much or we budgeted too little. Here's the work that got done so far, but nobody was committing to these tasks. Or maybe we were paying too much for these tasks because it turns out that everybody's willing to write a lesson if you pay them 10,000 ADA per lesson, right? So we get to look at that together, and all of it comes from on-chain data, because the next step after, putting something in progress and funding it is to set up those projects in the treasury. So one of the things I'll do before next week is do that audit and fill in this value right here with a precise, accurate number.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and possibly even like what are all the transactions,
I can link
associated
that.
with
Yeah, we
each
can do a
project.
link to like a summary of those transactions too. That's great.
And this all adds to this sort of transparency and like actionable transparency or genuine transparency. I love that. And it's one of those things that causes tension. Like not even, just like, is this budget or is this project over or under budget or yeah, it's definitely a source of unease or tension or not knowing, and being specific on it would be really great, I feel, about this type of governance collaboration experiment.
So now I'm ready to make a proposal to everybody. Those were all of the new columns I had in mind, but I kind of wanted to generate them together. Now look at this table right here. If during a project review, our goal is to really look at these columns right here. Make sure that the operational dates are good. Make sure there's a review date. And for now, let's say, suppose this is a last Thursday in any given month, like both of these dates are. Budget and budget spent, right? So my budget spent box is not filled out here, but I'm committing to this team to making sure that it is by this meeting next week. Right? And so that to me is a pretty nice high-level status update. When am I going to do this? When are we going to get together, review it? What did we budget and what have we spent? What's missing? If I frame it that way, are there any other data points that it would be helpful for people, A, to see in this table, or B, to make sure we are talking about in a meeting like this?
What is the completion? Like that 25% completion, 63, 66.
This is automatically calculated from looking at the task board. So here's this one says 25% because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, and one of them is in the done column.
Okay.
Obviously, it's
All
a
right, that's
difficult calculation for Plutus PBL, and maybe this will be a more accurate number next week as well after I do that little review. Harsha, what do you think?
I'm just curious if knowing exactly how much is there in Gimbalabs treasury would be valuable, just because if someone wants to put in a proposal and there's not enough budget to give to that proposal, like it wouldn't make sense.
Without a doubt. Okay.
yeah.
Some enterprising team members, Nelson's not here right now, but he's been spending a lot of his time lately on integrations between the on-chain stuff we're building and with Discord and with Notion. And so it'd be really nice to have a little widget in Notion that just pulled that number from the chain at any time. Not having that widget yet, let me just make sure everybody's aware of this. Harsha, I know you are, but just to make sure, we have this link right here. I'm going to drop it into the chat. And I'm going to also put it, I don't think this is called a table in Notion. So I can't actually add like a note here, but at least at Gimbalabs HQ, start here. Okay, we already have the link right here. So if you click the start
I
here
love it when
button,
that happens.
yeah, right. This is what we need to see. And let me just share screen over to my web browser for just a moment, right? This is a prototype. We're using it, right, to kind of start building out these systems together. And some of the people in this meeting might still need a contributor token. We can get you one. But just for now, because I want to maintain the focus on projects, just know that this is here. This is mainnet, and there's just about 75,000 ADA in the treasury right now. Super exciting, right? Yeah, so that's the big picture, and we're going to keep depositing funds here as they flow in from our fund 12 Catalyst proposals. Any questions about what we're looking at right here? This is mainnet, and there's just about 75,000 ADA in the treasury right now. Wow, Sir can like make my voice. That's pretty good. That's a good impression. How did you do that? Hey, man. All right. So yeah, keep that in mind. Audit this anytime, and we're gonna, if not today, I want to make sure everybody who needs a contributor token has one, but also we're going to look more closely at how the list of commitments work, because we absolutely do need to update the current list of projects to reflect some of the new proposals that we've approved. I fell behind on that because of the Conway hard fork and spent a little bit of time fixing it for the new era. But it's, as of now, it's up and running, it's healthy again, and we can update the list of projects. All right, so those are the first two. We use those kind of just as a chance to jump into this, think about some of these columns. Oh, and notice this view of our projects doesn't have the columns in the same order that we were just looking at. So let me navigate back to the projects page where we have that. Yeah, operational dates, review date, budget allocated, and budget spent. So let's move down the rest of the list. So Ken, we had a proposal about Gimbalabs website development, just like Plutus PBL from our proposals earlier in the year. Let's update these dates. But do you want to share a quick status update?
Sure. Well, it does a good part of what I was hoping to do with it. Like, like as far as being able to post markdown notes and then link between notes from different repositories. But as far as the user experience, like there's a few different areas where I've needed to take a step back and think about how to deal with them. Like first, like when you're building up the information that you're putting on the site, like it's basically just dropping markdown files into a folder. Like there's a lot that I want to do. Like as far as like managing the structure of how your notes fit together and making sure everything fits together right, sort of like a type checking type thing. But that requires a backend application, something to build your knowledge base, and then you can just push it to the site. Like as far as linking between different instances of the site, I've done some testing and I can get that to work. I just haven't created like an interface that makes it easy to do that. Like part of that is another issue. It's like language. So like for different sorts of tasks, you'll have to have different languages for how to interface with it. So like if you're talking about like calendar events, like I've got a data structure that I can use to create calendar events with, but in order to make it something that you can embed in your markdown documents, you need the language for structuring those events. Or like as far as like, yeah, if you're going to interface with other tools, like I'm not 100% sure what people would want to do with that. I've also spent a lot of time thinking about the theory stuff, like minimizing the way that the amount of pieces, like that's also related to making it so that the code base is a lot easier to manage. Like it, I don't know. There's several different directions I've sort of been looking at. I think I've spent the most time looking at the backend stuff. So like I may actually duplicate the experience with the website to like a native application. I've been learning Zig and playing around with Raylib. So like maybe I'll build it like a sort of the same way that people do game graphics, and that can also be ported to the web. So like as far as having an interface, like the web is it's sort of not a very consistent or reliable medium for like, I don't know, like for a user experience, like it's sort of a hodgepodge of different things. So like, yeah, I don't know. Part of the thought process behind that is that since I haven't really been paid more than just for 1 month of work on it, I've been thinking about doing game development type stuff too. So like the stuff I'm doing with Zig and Raylib and is useful for that too. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I want to be able to do with a knowledge management system, and it requires, again, like looking at those different things, like languages for different, like sort of like domain specific languages for different things. And I don't know.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big ask, especially because it was relatively small, because like you said, it was just a month uh of time, and to create a knowledge management system. But I feel really cool. I feel great that we were able to get you the a little bit of time and space to think about these things. But the specific question is, what was when I look down in the project here, we don't have the actual proposal, and I know that you went through like a big proposal process. So I definitely want to get that in there.
It was in
but then
there. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I wonder where it went
I don't
to.
know. I think it was, the link might have been somewhere else. If you click on the name of I don't know if that's.
And then
Yeah.
do you have at the top of mind, how much was allocated and how much was spent? And I guess this is.
It was just the 2008, I think, was just for 1 month.
That sounds.
And it was going to be.
Yeah. And has that been distributed? Did you get that?
Just that, yeah, that was.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I just found those. That was weird. I didn't know it was possible to have that somewhere else, but good. Now we have this. These notes are directly here, whether you click the open link or you click here.
Oh, it just showed up. Yay. Beautiful.
Yeah, I found it. And so we can
Nice.
see, right? We can see what the details, outcomes, etc. were, but we know it was 2000 ADA, and we know that's been distributed. Yeah, Newman, you got that. So
Okay,
this
I
one,
put that into the board. Yeah.
this is nice because this proposal is in a similar position to PPBL 24, where it might be a chance to say, okay, this is the scope that's done. And then there can be a follow-up proposal for additional scope.
Yeah.
And in terms of outcome, progress, visually verifiable, right? You gave a demo and a chance to reassess. I don't think we properly followed up on this, but maybe that's the next step here. Ken, how would you feel about calling this month of work done, right? The money was allocated, the budget was spent, you jumped into it. Can we call this done and leave it to you to start a new proposal when you're ready?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And look, we just reviewed it and the work happened in the past. That's good. That checks out. All right. Done.
And like total celebration time to move one over into the done. I'm looking
Here we
for
go.
the party. There we go.
There we go. The list of done stuff is growing. It's working. All right. I could speak for Hinson because I've been working with them on Aiken PBL. Let us, first of all, set a review date. I would like to be able to demo the Aiken PBL course by next review session. The work is ongoing. I actually don't know what day we started, but we usually check in on Wednesdays. I'll say that we've been working on this since August 14th, and our goal is to finish delivering the course by the end of January, according to a Catalyst proposal. This one was an example of a project that went straight from backlog to in progress because it was a Catalyst proposal. As such, we didn't ask for any funding or resources from Gimbalabs directly, so there's no allocated budget here, but Hinson and I are both earning for delivering on the proposal, and I'm excited to start asking for help on this. The status of the project is that we very quickly built a first draft of the course, and Hinson used it in person with a room full of developers in Hong Kong for a 3-day weekend a couple weeks ago. Maybe you saw some tweets about it. So this is a really groundbreaking way of building a course, not by just throwing it out there on the internet, but we built it for a live audience first. And man, there's nothing more satisfying than that. So now we have the feedback that Hinson got from that room full of students. And we are taking that first draft of the course and turning it into one that'll be live. So I'll have more prepared for that to kind of share out the status. And my intention is to bring that work, now that we've gone through the first phase of delivering the in-person thing, to the rest of the crew as we get organized.
Hey,
Maybe I have
James,
questions. Yeah.
I have no content on the Aiken PBL proposal. Like it's just the outline.
Yeah, this one, and this is a funny one. So you're right. We didn't even write a proposal here, and this is for me where our system is incomplete. The proposal process that we've been building here is, the idea is, when do you need to write a proposal to this group? Well, when you're asking for either time or funding from the rest of the group. There's going to be cases of projects that people just do. They say, oh, well, I don't need funding from the Gimbalabs treasury to do this. I'm not asking other people to spend time on it yet. This is just work that's going to get done. But there's kind of a gray area when it comes to a Catalyst proposal. And I don't know what kind of organization do we want to build here. So this points to a question. If all of us are collaborating here at Gimbalabs, and we have this process for spending shared funds and for asking each other to spend time on things, is it okay if separate from that, two people in this meeting right now went off and they made a Catalyst proposal that they didn't ask for permission for? They said, look, we're going to do this thing. We think it's going to benefit, but we don't need any other resources.
I always thought it was on behalf of Andamio, not Gimbalabs. So that's to me, that's where we're fuzzy.
Okay.
When it comes to PBL and course building.
Yeah. And that part is still fuzzy. Because as much Andamio, we've talked about it very clearly. We do not want to be in the business of writing course content. The problem is I'm on the Andamio team, and I also write a lot of content at Gimbalabs.
Yeah.
It's hard to paint a perfect picture of that. But for now, let's just say, there's no shared budget allocated. I do want to keep people in the loop about this work. And we know that we have systems to refine about if this is the only pathway proposal to consent to progress, or if we need to think about some other ways. Newman, what do you think?
Hey, is this I posted in the chat, is this the right Project Catalyst proposal? Aiken open source smart contract library?
No, let me find it for you. It's a fund 12.
Oh, wait a minute. I've got it. It's a fund 12 one.
Yeah.
Hold on. I got the Marlowe PBL sustain and maintain. Oh, a Gimbalabs flagship course for Aiken.
That's
No,
the
that's the one.
Yep.
Okay. I'll send the link to you in just a second. And do you prefer the Lido or the idea scale? Either one.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, here you go. And we could post this in that project just so then you can say, okay, this is a project. Yeah.
Yes.
That would be cool.
That's fine. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Quasar asks, is there a process or plan for handing off course content? Q, what's in relation to what course?
None that you're currently building or working on, but some future, something that's in the works or, that you want to do.
Ooh, okay.
So
But that
let's
gets
say
back,
they're a multi-sig PBL or a XYZ, fill in the blank.
So
I think Quasar,
can
that
I
gets back to I think that gets back to what we were talking about when I asked James that question. Is like Andamio is just the learning platform. Course content is created by creators, and they get funded perhaps in a variety of ways. Maintaining it is more, I would think, then the creator is going to need to maintain it, right? What's that business plan look like, James?
This is one of the most interesting questions to me right now. So there's a few ways to think about it, because one of the most important things we've learned is that writing a course is one thing, and then maintaining it for the long term is another, right? So one model that I would love to see come to life is that the hypothesis of Andamio is that after people learn something, they're ready to start getting paid to make contributions. And eventually, we might have a more formal onboarding process to what we're looking at right here at Gimbalabs. There might be some course material that we want people to go through before they start making decisions at these meetings, for example. That might happen. We don't have to decide about that yet. But what we've already seen in Plutus PBL is that the students who have most recently gone through the course are often the ones that are best equipped to make some updates to it. And I would love to be able to pay recent graduates of Plutus PBL to update the course. Now, that's one part of the equation. And I think Aiken is going to be able to do the same thing. We're going to draft the course. It's going to go out of date 2 weeks later. And then we're going to start incentivizing people to keep it up to date, right? But the part that doesn't address is who owns the course itself. That's a valuable piece of content. It's hosted in Andamio, but Andamio doesn't own it. And I think this is where we can really think about, like, I want Gimbalabs to be the owners of like the Aiken PBL course, right? So any future benefits that it creates beyond the scope of initially writing it, which is what we're doing for the Catalyst proposal, I would like for those benefits to come back to us.
So Andamio is kind of more like a loose collaboration of a variety of course builders. And the idea would be that in some future, when fees are charged for the courses, they will be disseminated much like royalties for a record.
Maybe. I mean, it's not a conclusion yet that we'll ever have people paying fees just to access a course. Not yet, right? Is that a possibility? Sure. But yeah, if that happened, then those fees are going to go somewhere. And no, they're right. They should go to content creators. Andamio is building a network that has the business plan is built around people using that network. And the course interface at andamio.io just provides a really convenient place to post content. But content doesn't actually have to be there. The on-chain part of Andamio is independent from everything that's on the platform. So there's a lot more to talk about there, and I don't want to fully derail us from getting through this project list by going through all the details of Andamio. But suffice to say, there's some pretty interesting stuff to talk about in the future.
I like that. I second that.
So Hintz and I are going to keep moving forward with that one. The reason he and I are working solo on this, I want to be really clear about this, is that our experience is that it's very, very hard to write a course collectively. And in the last 2 years, I've dedicated a lot of time and effort to making it an open process to build Plutus PBL. My heart is there, and I want to continue to do that. But the delivery of Plutus PBL has therefore been very inefficient. And with Hinson and I, we wrote this proposal to deliver this thing as efficiently as possible without the overhead of a broader group involvement. Okay. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable to talk about that because he and I are both getting paid for this, right? But we had to kind of plant a flag where we said, yep, Plutus PBL, that's going to stay a chance to experiment. Aiken PBL, we are going to treat it as a very clear, very focused project that the two of us get it done. Once we do, like I said, I really want Gimbalabs to own that intellectual property. Okay. But for now, he and I we're just taking care of business. And it's really nice once in a while just to be able to move at the speed of thought with one other person and get something done. Martin's hand has been up. Sorry, Martin.
Yeah, the Catalyst proposal thing came along, and I thought, well, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Went ahead and just assumed that it was okay, but yeah, maybe it isn't or is or whatever. But,
Which Catalyst proposal?
Fund 13, the deadline light thing. I put
Yes, up here. So I noticed we have Project Catalyst next in the list right here. This was all about Fund 12 planning and getting the word out and stuff. I'm going to mark this one done without spending too much time. Okay.
Nice. Good.
We had some success in Fund 12. Good job, everybody. One of the things we had success on was the sustain and maintain proposal. Harsha Newman, you can see these 3 columns here. You want to give us some updates on where we're at?
Yeah, I'll start, and if Harsha wants to finish, we are in the pipeline. Like all our milestones were reviewed and approved. I think the first tranches have been delivered. Things are progressing on, like basically what we're doing right now as a part of that of the sustain and maintain. The whole idea of getting the which spaces, which is a couple more down, that is a part of this. And
even playground season 4.
Yeah, exactly. So those two are a part, those two are part of this. And so I feel like it's going really well. And Harsha's involved in more sort of day-to-day admin. Harsha, anything to add?
Yeah, I submitted the first milestone yesterday from my email account, but I can transfer all the files to the Gimbalabs account once it's created. So I just pasted like the Google Docs for it. And I'm preparing for submitting the next milestone pretty soon. So
nice work. Thank you. And if they let you submit the milestone, who cares what email address it came from? That's awesome. This is
and one more question I had from submitting the milestones. Is there any information on our Notion that cannot be screenshotted and shared or anything like that? Because I screenshotted like this page that we are on right now and submitted it, but I wasn't sure like if there is any sensitive content that cannot be shared publicly.
Good question.
Any objections to sharing content publicly from this Gimbalabs Notion? I have none.
Well, it's interesting. There are the things that are published. There's like a publish publicly, and then there's stuff that can. I think this project board is published.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean,
maybe not.
There's something. There's the difference between like posting it on Twitter and submitting it to Catalyst. Catalyst eventually goes public, widely, but there's a, kind of an obscurity as to sort of, under a giant stack of papers. I feel like things, I'm with James with, My
What
first
if, how
response is,
about
yeah.
this? What if, just to be safe, the policy was if it's published live like this, then no objections to screenshotting. If you see for some reason that a page or a document is not published, maybe ask the owner for permission.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Harsha, was there something specific that you were most concerned about? I mean,
No, because so the Plutus PBL is also kind of under the sustain and maintain umbrella. And there's a lot of work being done on Plutus PBL, but I wasn't sure if I should
Got
take a screenshot or not.
Well, we
Yeah.
have, that's an interesting thing. So check it out. There might be some other ways to do this, but one thing we can do right away is we can say, look, this Fund 12 proposal has some dependencies, and the default language in Notion for talking about dependency is blocked by and is blocking. We could change those words if we want to, but just using the default, final delivery of this proposal right now has some prerequisites. It has which spaces as a prerequisite, right? We've already allocated some of the Fund 12 sustain and maintain funds to that, as is Playground Season 4. So what we can do is we can show these relationships like this, and those show up in the table view as well. Now, I wouldn't yet put PPBL 2024 as one of those dependencies because we haven't had that proposal yet, right? This proposal predates this, but I don't have any objections to you reporting on that prior work. I do think that an upcoming proposal, maybe this is one that I can take on where I make a new proposal for a new budget from these funds to make sure that PPBL is up to date. That could be a really nice thing for one of our Thursdays in October. Is that making some sense?
Yeah, yeah. And one other concern I had is now that we are mixing all the funds we get into the treasury, into the Gimbalabs treasury, but we get each of these funds from different sources and different proposals. How do we differentiate between which projects are a part of one specific proposal and not the other?
Well, we're going to have transaction records of when funds flowed into the treasury. And so, for example, that 74K ADA that's in the treasury right now, a part of that is from the first payment from this sustain and maintain proposal, right? And we can't at this moment distinguish it from other funds that have flowed in, but at least we can say, here's the transaction from the Catalyst disbursement to Harsha. Here's the transaction where those funds were deposited to the treasury. And then we can just do the arithmetic and we can say, okay, this is how much funds have flowed in. This is how much was allocated to which spaces. And this is how much was allocated to playground. And we can just do the math to see how that all works out. Moving forward, we do want to be able to disaggregate different pools of funds in the Andamio treasury, but we haven't implemented that yet. And we're just for efficient development, we're not going to implement that in the prototype, but that will be a feature when we roll this into the rest of the platform. So is everybody okay with, for now, doing arithmetic, but soon enough, we're going to have a much more automated way to look at these different pools of funds?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, what do you think, Harsha? I think that, I guess that's, there is definitely, I like the idea that it's a future feature. It seems like that would be like I in my mind think of it as a visualization of an address, just to see the deposits and the debits, like just as a standard thing that you can just sort of put on, and it feels kind of like a GraphQL query, and like it could be visualized like one of the you know, that could be like a proposal in and of itself. It's just to make a utility tool to say, watch this. And is there something out there like that? But I like the fact that it's going to be included in Domio in the future. Or it's on the roadmap.
So the reason I was asking is because in the sustain and maintain proposal, we also mentioned that other proposals will be coming in for which the funds would be spent. So I'm trying to figure out which proposal should be reported as a part of sustain and maintain and which proposal shouldn't be.
Excellent.
Good question. Yep.
Just for fun, what if we add a property? And I can add a...
James is property happy. I love it.
You know, it can't hurt. It's cheap.
Well, there is the word. Well, I'm vamping while you focus on what you're doing.
Yeah.
That blocked by, but yeah, somehow like a relation. Oh, okay. You're thinking of like a catalyst.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking actually yet.
Oh, dang it.
But imagine we just had this, okay? Like for now, what if we just put sustain and maintain as the only option,
Yeah.
right? And this was, whoops, that didn't save. F12, sustain and maintain. And this is not the final answer, but this gives us a little something to play with. I'll bring this over here, and at least for now, my recollection is that this which spaces proposal was from here, and that the
Definitely.
playground one was from here,
Definitely.
right? Not considering this an end date, does that help us look at this a little bit?
And the Plutus PBL, and that was harsher. That's one that you were sort of in the sticky with, was like the Plutus PBL, because that is included the live spaces of the live coding part of the Plutus PBL.
Right. But that wasn't the scope of the proposal.
That's right.
That's right. If I look at the budget for this one, none of this budget was for, right? This was just for writing.
Yeah. Harsha, does that sort of clear it up for you?
So I'm not, is there like a proposal associated with Plutus PBL that we put in and received funds? Because every other PBL that received funds separately, I haven't included. This is the only one I wasn't sure.
This right here was coming from a combination of gimbal pool rewards and yes, some earlier, is Sebastian still here? It was either like a Fund 10 or a Fund 11 proposal that we had some funds left over. Let us audit that. But yeah, we had a proposal about experimenting with these systems, and this was really drawing on those funds. So there probably is a Fund 11 proposal.
But not sustain and maintain.
What
a
was
new
that
thing
one
right
called?
in there? Oh my goodness.
It was like F11 experiment research, treasury.
F11 research.
Something like
Sebastian was saying something.
Yeah, it's a Fund 11 research about this governance exercise.
If I call that treasury R&D, how's that sound? And we'll get that link. Yeah, but that's where these came from. So now we're able to look, and let's go, we can skip around a little bit.
But if I can say, you guys have to, and the whole community have to see this as a meta proposal, because it's one of this a kind of ledger that allows allows this kind of this governance exercise. It's not a proposal that grows inside this, digamos, let's say this notion. It's it's one of the columns or pillars that allows all this stuff. Like we are in below this proposal, proposal research makes possible this governance exercise. That's the general idea.
That's the part of the reason we were able to get to the point of having these meetings is because of the background work that came from this earlier proposal.
And it's because we are proposing to the Catalyst community, the Cardano community, okay, let's try this kind of organizational experiment to propagate the results at a community ecosystem level. So yeah, that's the, I don't know if you have questions. I can answer it.
You could start to imagine some other ways, right? Like this one, the budget for this one is kind of an inflow, and how it's actually being spent are, for example, in this column right here. So this table right here is not yet complete to handle the kind of 2-column ledger bookkeeping, but we're moving in that direction. And high level, we've allocated just about, well, 17,800, right? So just a little under 20% of the sustain and main proposal is accounted for at this point. We got about another 83K ADA to go. And we can keep building ways to get a better picture of that. Steve, what do you think?
I'm all about the money, you know, and I think looking to the future, I mean, we're probably going to get funded to build some courses, you know, specific courses for specific people, you know, so that property there where it says Catalyst Project, I'd rather see funding source,
Ooh.
you know, F12, 100,000 ADA, you know, and then, you know, each proposal that's getting money from that, then, you know, will have, you know, an amount associated so that we can kind of with less work see how much a proposal's taken, what it's taken from the original source, you know, and then maybe a property there that's kind of like shows where Fund 12 sustain and maintain is like, oh, it's only got 2,000 ADA left. Let's give it to Quasar because whatever.
Yes.
That's a real joke. That's a joke. I do not mean that seriously.
I mean, and there's some really, really great stuff we can do with Notion that's beyond the scope of this meeting right now. But if anybody wants to have kind of a jam session in here next week, I can show you some Notion tricks and we can make this even more helpful. But this feels, I like that. Call it funding source. When I label this one sustain and maintain, it's different from labeling these ones sustain and maintain, right? So I want to figure out how do we create this system so that we know the distinction. This is the inflow. This is the actual funding source for this.
Oh.
And then this is the source for these, right? We haven't established that part yet, but this is a pretty nice first step.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good, yeah, that's exactly how to say that.
Notion gives us a way to deal with that. And it's, what I really want to do is drop everything and start screwing around with that right now, but I'm going to hold my tongue and
Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah.
A geek out session. All right. But look at this. So we're starting to see a funding source column emerge. That one wasn't on my list. That's great. This is great, right? And we can see, okay, these two proposals, which were recently approved, we know the allocations to those. These funds are already in the Gimbalabs treasury, but we haven't yet pushed the projects that people can commit to in the treasury. And I want to focus really on that next week as kind of an administrative thing. Okay. But at least we can see the high level view here. And now we can finally spend this money. Anything before we move on from sustain and maintain, or Harsha? Yeah.
I was just curious. This seems like a lot of treasury work because someone would have to do like a bunch of like accounting and start sending ADA to people. Do you think like a treasurer should be like compensated because it is like time and effort?
Let me show you next week how much effort it takes, and then let's decide if that should be compensated.
I thought weren't we talking about Roberto for being the treasurer for Gimbalabs?
Well-
No, I have a proposal up here for brick and mortar world financial accounting. That's a different scope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But remember,
But I mean, this would be part of that, right? I mean, I think
well, to answer that question, I would have to reopen this proposal, and I don't want to jump back.
Yeah.
Okay. But big zoom out. We are working on blockchain. Blockchain is a public ledger that anybody can look at. We just need to provide ways for people to get the view they need of that ledger. And that's why actually accounting is easy. We have to write the correct queries, right? We have to make sure that data is visible, but there is no longer the need for somebody to keep those books. In order to use the Gimbalabs treasury, all we have to do is approve the list of projects that are there, and then anybody with a contributor token can claim the tasks that we talk about in these meetings. Right? Now, at the other side of it, somebody does have to approve that that work got done so those funds can be distributed. And at this moment, I've been doing most of that, pressing the button to approve that the work is complete. And what I'm really excited about is for a few more of us to hold those reviewer tokens so that you can approve that work is done. All right. That's an urgent and immediate next step for us. But actually using the language of blockers, I think this conversation about our current work in progress was blocking us from that. So now that we have this review of projects complete, now we can make sure that everybody knows how to actually get these funds out of the treasury. And hopefully it looks easy enough that we don't feel the need to like pay too much more for accounting of that. That's for next week. This one, which spaces, we started working on it in July, but what was the time span of this proposal?
December.
September to December, right? So let's change the operational dates of this one from start of September to end of December. And we might want to review this one. Let's say we're not going to meet on December 26th, just healthy, but maybe we can review this one December 19th before we break for the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this review is different from, there's a tensions backlog that is completely different.
I think a tensions backlog is a great thing to look at during a review.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And then Playground Season 4, we've already got the dates here. Was the funding said approximately 6,000 ADA? Does that get us to the end of Season 4, or was that just for part of the season?
Pull up the pull up the proposal really quick because we've got a nice spreadsheet in there, but it was more of a uh more of a yeah, like just saying that the target is
You're
6.
multiplying by what, 13, and we're doing it by
Yeah.
2 of these. So this will get us
I
about 6 months.
yeah, it may
I thought
be
it
I
was per
actually
month. Oh man.
Oh, per month.
he's
Ah.
joking again. He's joking
Kelly's
again.
gonna be pissed.
I have the actual spreadsheet, and now that we've got the scheduling dates, if you give me 2 minutes, I might be able to pull that up.
And we're almost at time. I'm okay at least getting through this list if we go like 15, 20 minutes over today. But if anybody needs to go, of course, say so.
Being pressed for
Well,
time, is there a TLDR of getting caught up on a contributor token, or save that for another time?
they can be minted. Yeah, what we do is we mint them on demand once somebody is ready to commit to some task.
Q has commitment issues, so no problem, Sam.
Oh no, man. I'm liquid. I got commitment and liquidity. Let's go. I got it to burn.
Where we're going is the minting of contributor credentials is going to be automated by Andamio. You want to be a contributor over here? Do this lesson, right? And what we will have, I imagine, in 2025 is a very short onboarding to Gimbalabs course. We're not asking people to like cut through all sorts of bureaucracy, but certainly wouldn't it be nice to have like 4 lessons where we teach people, hey, here's what we do on Thursdays at Open Spaces. Assignment, come to one. Here's how our Notion works. Assignment, write a proposal, right? And once people do just a couple things so they understand how we do things here, then we will automatically grant them contributor access.
Okay. I did bring that up and I posted a new budget into the because basically the change what we did was the admin of the project is going to be it will all be admin out of the sustain and maintain. So
Nice.
that'll be sort of Harsha and I working out of that budget. And we bumped up the sessions from 13 to 18. But that still pulls us into 6,050 ADA at these
18 sessions.
Yeah.
At 2 per month would get us 9 months.
Yeah, and that I can let me, is there a link? No. Let me put a link in there as well with the spreadsheet so that you can see the at least a tentative. Basically 18 will get us to June 3rd, and a couple, like we'll be taking a break in that last, I think December 31st.
Right.
I think New Year's
Right,
is, so there's a few breaks in there, but yeah, it gets us to June 3rd, and that could be the duration. Yeah, so we have a real hard date on that one.
And let's tentatively review that in late March or late May.
Nice,
But we can always bump that
up. Steve, how does that feel? Do you want to review it maybe earlier? I mean, we can review on our own, but just as a bigger group.
That's cool.
And actually, that's a really good point, though. One way to think about these review dates is as a reminder to the bigger group to talk about it by then. But at any time, if you're working on one of these projects and you need help from the team in this space, bring it up.
The review thing, I think with Playground is a little bit more touchy feeling than some of these other ones, right? Like if I say something offensive, you may want to review, in 2 weeks. Like
He ruined our reputation with one sentence.
right. That could
man.
happen. I mean, it's happening with some of my wives, but
Steve.
and some playgrounds are different. Like like with Janti, I thought he was gonna like really announce something, and he didn't. They had gone through a really intense level of hard stuff, and they wanted to talk about it. And so like it was hardly a conversation. It was just them talking about what they'd done, and it took me a while during the playground to actually digest why they wanted to even come. Because I had expected an announcement. Hey, we're going live next month. I thought that's what Janti had hinted at, but he was just like, we got to show you all this shit we did. And they did. They had done a lot of work, but it's pretty dry stuff.
I've got it to listen to. I haven't listened to it just yet. But I did
demo.
post the YouTube link, and yep.
All right. Noticing we're at time. Let's move towards wrapping up. We made some really nice progress, and as you can see, there's current dates at this point on all of these. Oh, except for Marlowe PBL. But let Sebastian, actually, let me share a very quick update on that. We've had some really good initial conversations with the Marlowe team. They are scrambling because the Marlowe 2025 Catalyst proposal did not pass last round. But Professor Thompson is working really hard on really going back to the drawing board of why Marlowe needs to exist. And we're looking at ways to collaborate on a Fund 13 proposal to keep Marlowe going. In the meantime, we are going to build a course about what's there, and we will soon have, just like the Aiken, we're going to soon have more to share on how to get involved in that. But this one's at a slightly earlier stage. And I would say maybe it's running like 2 or 3 weeks behind where Aiken is. Q, what do you think?
Potential collaboration also with Latala Prison, now Identis. They also were not funded in Fund 12, and they're looking for strategies and or people to co-propose with and learn from their mistakes of not marketing and branding and all that kind of stuff. So perhaps there's a Marlowe, Gimbalabs, Andamio, Identis, Hyperledger thing. I was in the breakout room with Steve Sign and Fayad, and mentioned collaborating on some proposals, and they were all up for it, open to entertaining ideas. So
excellent. Okay, so and this is a great way to get you up to speed on what we're doing here. That's a potentially great idea, right? And the list of possibilities you just named there is epic and exciting, but it's such an epically exciting list of possibilities that it's hard to know where to start. And that's why we have this proposal process. So if you want to drive the work towards that kind of collaboration, it's a great idea. And that would be a great chance to kind of practice this proposal process.
groovy. I like it.
Just for fun and to troll Alex a little bit while he's not here to protect himself, I'm going to move his introduce backlog to backlog. But in a big way, we just did what he suggested last week. The reason we're doing this right here is A, because we had to, and it was Alex who drove us in this direction to make sure we do this kind of review. So Alex, if you're catching up later, thank you. And we can check in with him next time to see if the status of this list gets us closer to where he thinks we should be. While we were meeting, I threw a task for myself on here really informally for next week. What I promised to bring is a current summary of the transactions in the Gimbalabs treasury so that we can look at how much we've spent on Plutus PBL 2024. And we can start to get a real handle on what's been done with that treasury so far.
And if you go to the reports, the milestone reports of the research proposal, there you can find a
Already
spreadsheet.
got it. All right,
Where
I'll start
in
there.
this and in that spreadsheet you can find a transaction per transaction of what is happening in the treasury. So it's open. It's a little bit. I have to add some new information, but for until August, okay, you can find all the transactions and all the transactions behind the spending of the treasury. So go and go to the milestone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you. Cool. So I already have a first step for doing that. I can ask you for help on that, Sebastian, when I get stuck. And there, now there's 3 tasks on that one. Before we close out on reviewing this list, anything else we should touch?
Hey, I do want to get everyone's eyes on this this Google document, and then also say hey to Emmanuel. His
Yeah.
he's in there. But basically, Emmanuel came in. He said, "Hey, look, I've got a proposal idea," and I was like, "Oh, okay." We didn't have a document that said how to propose or sort of explaining this new system, and so I drafted a quick document. And I'd love it if people edited or gave some feedback on that.
Oh, sweet. This is nice. And Newman, would you migrate this doc directly into Notion?
Into Notion, yeah, I definitely I understand that's we're trying to move towards, but I can work a little faster and looser, and but once this gets kind of worked over, then I feel like this is the rough draft, and then like a first draft goes into the Notion, but that you may want like even rough drafts into the Notion for whatever reason. It feels like it's more solid once it gets into Notion.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
One thing is, do we want a open Discord link? That's one question, but that's out of the scope of this. We're wrapping up, but I'd like to get this just in front of everybody.
In general, we've never had barriers to sharing a public link to the Gimbalabs Discord.
Okay.
And we have a DevOps genius who kind of locked down the server with access control, that kind of thing. And we've had only like 2 major spam events in the last 4 years, so not too bad.
It's awesome.
Nice. So that's in progress. That's going to be awesome to have this in Notion. Consider proposing to pay yourself for building this, Newman, or even, even a proposal to take what you have here and turn it into a very short course.
Oh, that I will take on. I will take that on. And this fits in with that, like, okay, how, because in my mind, this network of Andamio / Gimbalabs / all the things is really about using the Andamio tools is creators on that network, kind of like Andamio is YouTube and we're all out there building content. We're the folks out there building, and that is exciting to me. Yeah,
that's awesome.
For sure.
And that remains, we don't know in the long run where Gimbalabs is going to land. And actually, can we stop the recording so I can give some quick updates off air?
Sweet.
If you're watching this, thanks for hanging out. We do this on Thursdays. Everybody's welcome to join. Look for the link at gimbalabs.com/calendar. Peace.